All right. Well, it looks like we've reached critical mass. So again, thank you to all for joining us here today. Whether you are a longtime member or new to the Savi community, these briefings are sort of a communal space for Savi to engage our broader network of stakeholders in a deeper and more meaningful way as we work together to solve the student debt crisis. And today we're engaging our network of TIAA stakeholders, both clients and plan sponsors. So we're really excited about that. By harnessing our respective expertise and capabilities, we hope to deliver actionable insights that will help all of you expand your reach, drive awareness, and maximize positive impact within your community of student loan borrowers. So this briefing is designed to not only inform, but to fuel and accelerate the efforts of our partners and stakeholders in service of those student loan borrowers. So it will feature a deep dive into the latest student loan policy news, the implications for borrowers, and the critical role stakeholders play to engage and support their communities at this time. So without further ado, just a few housekeeping notes before we proceed. This briefing is being recorded and it will be made available to all participants following today's session. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to put those in the Q&A. And if you need to enable closed captioning or live transcription during the webinar, please see a link in the chat with instructions on how to do that via Zoom. All right, as far as our agenda that we're going to cover over the next half hour or so, I'm first going to introduce our lineup of amazing presenters here today. Then we're going to dive into some of the major policy and program updates that have been going on in the world of student loans and that are really important for borrowers in your communities. Then we're going to talk about the actual impact on those borrowers. This is a critical time right now. And so we're really appreciative that you all have taken the time to join us to hear about sort of what's going on. Then we're actually going to feature something new, an employer spotlight with the University of Pittsburgh. They've been doing amazing work with their borrower community and employees. And so we really want to highlight some of that work and the benefit that they have been able to bring to their community. And then we're going to talk about some of the next steps that you all can be taking to support your communities of student loan borrowers. So let's first look at your presenters here today. My name is Lindsay Clark. I'm the Chief Borrower Advocate here at Savi, and I'm sure you might be familiar with me. I've been hosting these workshops and stakeholder events for a while now. It's my pleasure to also introduce Tony Raffa, who is our new Director of Business Development and Strategy to Savi. So he's going to be talking a little bit later on in the presentation. We also have Ellis Linsmith, our Partnerships Manager here at Savi, who I know works tirelessly with many of you on a one-on-one basis. And then we have a special guest today, Anthony Payne, who is the Benefits Manager at the University of Pittsburgh, who again is going to be highlighting some of the amazing work they have been doing in offering the Savi TIAA benefit. All right, so to dive right in to some of the major policy and program updates, I want to make sure that everyone on this call is aware of the fact that payments are resuming. So to back up and give some context here, payments had been on pause since March of 2020, right at the height of the pandemic when the CARES Act went into effect. And that payment pause had continued up until the end of August. So as of September 1st of this year, interest has resumed and bills will start to be due in October, so next month. All borrowers are going to have a different due date, and that's what just sort of makes this even more complicated. But their student loan servicers should be notifying them as to when their exact bills are due. Now, one of the most important things that any employee working at a qualifying public service employer, such as yours, should be aware of is the fact that the time during this payment pause, so from March of 2020 through what will ultimately have been August 31st of this year, all right, so that's 40 plus months. For each one of those months that payments have been paused, they are eligible to accrue a qualifying payment credit towards the 120 total that they need to achieve full forgiveness on their loan balance. Normally under this program, they would have had to have made a payment in order to inch closer to forgiveness. However, this payment pause period is going to count towards that forgiveness time. So that essentially could put any employee of yours who's been working at your institution at least since March of 2020, a third of the way closer to full forgiveness without paying a dime. This is huge. And I find a lot of borrowers and employees that we talk to are either misinformed or confused about this. But when they realize how much closer they are at this point in time than where they were 3 years ago, they're in disbelief. And the fact that they haven't had to make a payment at all in order to get that progress. So this is something that we are actively communicating to all savvy borrowers, and is a huge opportunity, again, for any employee to have gotten significantly closer to full forgiveness. All right, moving right along, another big development in the world of student loans has been the introduction of a new income-driven repayment plan. This plan is called the SAVE plan, and it is going to be the most affordable repayment plan to date. Now, this plan has been introduced in waves, and part of that plan was introduced this past summer of 2023. So it is now currently available for borrowers to enroll, but it's going to get even better next year. So what's gone into effect this year under this new repayment plan is that any unpaid interest after someone makes a monthly payment is basically going to be subsidized by the federal government. That way, regardless of how little a borrower might be paying each month on their student loans, their balance is never going to increase as a result of capitalized interest. This is huge. Another big thing that this plan is introducing right away is that it's going to raise the amount of income considered non-discretionary. So that means basically that no borrower making under 225% of the poverty level will have a student loan payment. So that's about $15 an hour or around $35,000 a year. And it's a sliding scale from there. So it's basically going to help lower monthly payments across the board for most student loan borrowers. Now, next year, this plan gets even better. They're basically going to lower the percentage of discretionary income to 5%. This is the lowest of any repayment plan out there on undergraduate loans. And then it's going to be at 10% for graduate loans. For borrowers that might have a mix of undergrad and graduate loans, it's going to come out to a weighted amount based on the loan types and balances. So it'll be somewhere between that 5 to 10%. So borrowers that enroll in this plan now are going to see an even further reduction next year. Another thing that's going to go into effect as well is that borrowers with loan balances under $12,000 will receive forgiveness after 10 years instead of the normal 20 years on those income-driven repayment plans. This plan is going to be available again to everyone, and eligible borrowers can enroll by completing the Savi application. When they go through the Savi process right now, they're going to be able to see that monthly payment on the new SAVE plan as well as others, and can enroll basically with the click of a button. All right, now I want to sort of transition and talk about how some of these changes are affecting your employees and community of student loan borrowers. Because while a new income-driven repayment plan might sound great, a lot of borrowers are in a worse position now than they were before the pandemic. And so as we re-enter repayment, we are very aware that it's not going to be without complications or difficulties that are going to put a lot of borrowers at high risk for financial distress. So just to give you an idea of sort of high level what this is going to look like, about 40 million plus borrowers are going to re-enter repayment starting in October. Now, most of those student loan borrowers, again, have not made a payment since March of 2020. Now, according to new analysis of student loan borrowers from the CFPB, about 20% of student loan borrowers have risk factors that suggest they could struggle when payments resume. Those same economists also found that more student loan borrowers are now delinquent on other payment obligations than they were before the pandemic. And the median scheduled payment on those other obligations have increased by 24% for borrowers that are expected to return to repayment. So again, there's been an increase in other consumer debt that they've taken on, meaning they are in sort of a worse position to be able to now afford this monthly payment come October. The other thing to consider here too is that the system has changed a lot since payments have been on pause. Tens of millions of student loan borrowers will have to work with a different or new student loan servicing company than they did before the pandemic. A lot of those accounts were transferred over the last 3 years, and many borrowers are still unaware. So this just furthers sort of the complications that borrowers are going to have to navigate when it comes to returning to repayment. A couple of the things that we've actually seen and experienced from hearing from savvy borrowers and those that we work with in our communities, there's more misinformation and confusion than ever before. When we host workshops almost on a daily basis, I mean, we are getting more questions than we are even attendees. People are just at a loss for what to do. They haven't really been thinking about their debt for a while and are starting to panic. We're also seeing a spike in scams. A lot of text and call campaigns from scam companies are happening right now, and a lot of borrowers are at risk of falling prey to that. Borrowers are also experiencing longer call wait times with their servicers, upwards of 1 to 2 hours plus, trying to figure out what their bill amount is and when their due date is. We're also seeing a lot of servicer mistakes in calculating monthly payments, especially with this new SAVE plan. This plan has just been rolled out by the Department of Education, and it's clear that there are some kinks that need to be worked out in their processes, and we're seeing a lot of borrowers get wrong results, as a factor. Many borrowers have also yet to receive a bill for their student loan payment, despite the fact that it's due in October next month. So this is something that's very concerning to us. Borrowers should be receiving those now and in the coming weeks, but it's putting a lot of borrowers on edge. Now, just to give you a sense, in August of this year, we saw the highest volume of users coming to Savi needing assistance. And we expect this to continue to grow as we approach October. So we just want to reiterate to all of you Savi's commitment to ensuring that every student loan borrower has the support and assistance they need to not only transition successfully back into repayment, but to continue pursuing programs like public service loan forgiveness to ultimately achieve freedom from that student loan debt. This is something that we take very seriously, and each and every day we come with that same energy. All right, so with that being said, I am delighted to introduce Anthony for our Stakeholder Spotlight. He is a benefits director at the University of Pittsburgh, and he's going to talk to you about the Savi and TIAA benefit that has been in effect since 2020, I believe. And this program has done amazing things for their employees with student loan debt. Just anecdotally, in the last month, we saw 2 of their employees come through. One who was with the School of Nursing, an instructor who had been with the university for 19 years and was able to get about $42,000 in student loans forgiven. And then another who had been with the university since 2009, a research associate there. So just goes to sort of show you forgiveness is still happening, but we're really excited to hear from Anthony about his experience and the university's experience in working with Savi and TIAA. So without further ado, I will turn it over to you, Anthony.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. I appreciate it. And hi, everybody. As Lindsay mentioned, my name is Anthony Payne, and I manage our financial planning benefits at the University of Pittsburgh. Really excited to be here today to just talk to you about the amazing partnership that we've had with Savi. As mentioned by Lindsay, we launched with them in 2020, and our benefit, the way we have it advertised, is for our student loan assistance program. This was a really easy decision for us to decide to add this benefit to our offerings. We really felt like we should offer this, especially as a higher education institution, as a commitment to, assisting our employees, with their education needs. It's also added a fantastic value to our already robust selection of financial planning benefits. So our employees have a few other things they have access to, including our retirement savings plan, and a few others. So this just pieced right in very nicely with it. But not only to assist our employees that have their own student loans, this also assists our employees who might have a Parent Plus loan. So it really addressed a need and touched on different types of employees and populations that we work with. In addition to just offering the benefit, we actually opt to cover the essential service fee for our employees as well. Waiving this fee was really important to us, and it allows our employees to have access to step-by-step support so that their access and their success through this program is almost guaranteed. It really helps Savi work with them and make sure that they're doing the best that they can. And also, not unselfishly, it's a wonderful retention and recruitment tool for the university. People that want to go through this program, they want to stay with us. And it also supports, you can see different statistics out there that employees who have these programs and they are in them and working through them, they have a higher commitment to their employer. And we do definitely see that the folks who are utilizing this, they want to be here and want to make sure that they're working and, sticking with us through this, which I know recruitment and retention are big points for companies right now, for sure. So it does benefit us as well. Not only the employees, don't want to act like we're not getting some benefit from there as well. As mentioned, it is beneficial for employees, but also on the administrative side of things, it's really nice partnering with Savi. They have a wonderful support team, whether it's customer service for an employee with a specific issue for themselves, or if, we have an issue on the administrative side of things where we need to look at something, they are prompt and quick. And honestly, I don't know if I was going to say it or not. This is our only benefit. We have yet to get like a negative feedback on, which is kind of nuts. We have a very large plethora of benefits, but I have yet in my tenure here gotten a negative comment about anybody utilizing Savi. Everybody has really great things to say about it. To sort of look at our stats here a little bit, we have roughly 14,500 employees at the university. And as you can see here in our graphic, we have about 1,200 plus employees currently engaged in using the Savi program with us. So we get a pretty good amount of usage with it. A big part of making sure that that is effective and it's moving as it should is making sure we're engaging and communicating with our employees. We have our communications team actually do a few different methods, as we found that to be the most successful method of reaching everybody. We understand, especially now in a hybrid environment, that everybody's looking to get information in different ways. So if anybody who is utilizing it, we recommend that, reach out and work with your employees and engage with them, whether it be through social media or maybe events on campus. We send out email blasts to promote the Savi webinars. And anytime we're talking about our financial planning benefits, we're always highlighting the Savi program as well. Actually, Lindsay stole, I had this fun stats to share, so I was robbed. However, I have, those are some more recent success stories that we've had, but we actually have a very interesting one from someone back right around, if I recall, maybe the first year or so since we launched it, but we had an employee that was actually able to get $110,000 of their student loans forgiven. So this isn't just me, saying words, there's benefits and we see results for our employees, which that's always great. And on top of it, the relationship's been so great with Savi. I always say this is one of my favorite type of benefits to offer because they take so much administrative burden away, or so great to work with. It's basically like a benefit that kind of runs itself for us and we get to profit from it. So I have nothing but wonderful things to say. And I'll just share too, I have a little anecdote or a message that we got from one of our employees recently that speaks to not necessarily what they'd gotten, but just, the customer service team at Savi. And he had said that working with Savi has been such a great experience. They're willing to explain the different options that are out there and help students with debt, as well as making the process as easy and low stress as possible. I didn't think I could have ever possibly gotten any debt forgiven. Savi showed me that there are options and out there for everybody, and they will stop at nothing to help you find the right choice for you. So just wanted to leave it out there, and was really happy to talk with you all today. Now turn it back over to you, Lindsay.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anthony. Sorry for stealing your thunder. I was just so excited to share those stats. But no, we really appreciate you coming on and sharing your experience. And we look forward to continue to serving the University of Pittsburgh population.
Absolutely happy to be here and looking forward to it as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, now I'm going to turn things over to Tony Raffa, our new Director of Business Development Strategy, who is going to talk with you about some of the onboarding strategies around Savi and basically how easy it is to implement and get started with something like this, whether you're currently utilizing Savi or curious to do so in the future. So Tony, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. As Lindsay said, I am one of the newer members over at Savi. I'm their Director of Business Development and Strategy, and always here to help and answer any questions in any way I can. I'm actually not just a new employee over at Savi, but I'm also a relatively new user of Savi. My wife is in the medical field, and we actually had $233,000 of student debt. And the upcoming minimum payments were equivalent almost to our mortgage. So it was definitely a huge financial stress for us. And Savi, when we went to set up with Savi, it actually only took us 10 minutes to fill in all of our information, and it guided us to the SAVE plan, which takes our minimum payments from $266,000 down to $417. So obviously that is a massive change for us. It also, because she is in the medical field and working at public hospitals, puts us on the path to forgiveness to only to reducing our expected payments down to $50,000 as well. So really, really life-changing for us. And I always like to tell that personal story just because we were in a it was a high stress for us, and it really helped us. And it also let us have the freedom to put more money towards our 401k and focus on some retirement savings and things of that nature. And it only took 10 minutes. Not only is it great from the user perspective, but it's incredibly easy from employers' perspective to get set up and to use it. Savi has a really streamlined process, made it incredibly easy for employers to get started. It just requires a 5-minute onboarding survey and one kickoff call, and then that's all we need from your side. Savi also automates the process for the public service loan forgiveness forms, so this can save your team members a ton of time. Obviously, at this point, now that I'm with Savi, I'm a little biased, but as being on both sides of the field, I couldn't recommend it more. Even if I wasn't part of the team, I would be highly recommending it to my friends, with how much it really took stress away from my family, as I'm sure student loans are a stress for so many families. So thank you, Lindsay. I'll throw it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Tony. Okay, I'm now going to throw it over to Ellis to talk a little bit about the stakeholder role. I think we just saw this question come through. What can you be doing to support and ensure positive outcomes for student loan borrowers in your community, especially as we gear up for repayment to resume in October? So Ellis, I will turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Lindsay. Hi, everybody. So nice to see a bunch of familiar names on here today. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to our partners at TIAA for helping us organize this event. Thanks, Anthony, for joining and talking about your experience bringing the benefit to Pitt employees. The last thing that we wanted to touch on today is talking a little bit about how you all can support employees as we head into payment resumption. So as Lindsay mentioned, payments are resuming next month. Borrowers are gearing up to make payments for the first time in over 3.5 years. And it is our goal to make sure that every borrower knows that this is coming and is taking steps to get themselves in a healthy position to be making those first payments. So we are looking to all of our partners to ensure that your communities, your employees know about payment resumption. We are hosting a webinar with TIAA on October 4th at noon ET, and we will be discussing how to prepare for payment resumption. So different steps that borrowers can be taking to ensure that they are getting on track to make their payments. So that is October 4th, noon. After this call today, we will be sending you all communications to use to promote that October 4th webinar. So ready to go templates for the webinar. We'll also send out a flyer that you can attach to the email or newsletter or social media post. And if there's something that you're looking for that's not in there, let us know, and we're happy, to work with you in TIAA to make sure that you have the resources you need to communicate about payment resumption and that October 4th webinar. If there are any questions, feel free to throw them in the Q&A that we have going. Our team is always happy to chat, hop on calls with any of you. You can email us anytime at savvypartnerships@buysavi.com, or your account manager if you know their email address. So feel free to reach out to us, and we're really excited to continue supporting all of our partners as you all support your employees this October.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ellis. So again, what's next here, just reiterating, about communicating about payment resumption to your employees. As Ellis said, there are sort of tons of ready to go toolkits that we are going to be sending out to all of you to be able to support those efforts. In particular, promoting the October 4th TIAA and Savi webinar. Hopefully this can be a powerful way to get the word out. And we're going to be on there answering as many of your employees' questions as possible. And continue to look out for more stakeholder updates to come. We try to host these, on a monthly basis or so. And so we think and we hope it's a great forum for us to be able to spread the word and support you in your efforts. So if there aren't any other questions, I think we will wrap things up, give you guys back a few minutes, but again, appreciate you attending here today. You will receive a copy of this recording, and we look forward to being in touch and supporting our communities together. Thank you so much, everyone.